好，欢迎大家，来到我们的 AFI 的咖啡夜谈。今天呢是周二，是我们一个very special day， 所以非常感谢大家的加入。我还是先简单介绍一下 Alliance for Impact。我们原来叫做华人咖啡俱乐部，是一个501c3的非盈利公益组织。那我们主要就是希望可以让这华裔可以抱团取暖，然后通过非常多的线上和线下的主题活动呢，让大家可以有各种各样的沟通和成长，拓展视野和人脉，然后提高职业发展和事业的机会。那思慧学院呢是 AFI 的教育领域的非盈利合作伙伴，那也是将最优质的财商、投资、沟通和领导力，还有职场，特别我们是因为今天是职场讲座嘛，是职场方面的课程呢，带给我们的成人和 K12的课堂。那这里的影响力大家也可以看到，很多人都比较熟悉，我们的一些成果，那也是非常，尤其大家如果关心这个健身的，是我们新开办的一个云健身的公益课程，感兴趣的可以关注。好，那我们就直接进入到今天的主题，非常欢迎Cassie 还有Joe 来加入我们今天的 AFI 特别讲座。那我把话筒直接交给 Cassie， 请 Cassie 来简单介绍一下好吗
？Okay, thank you, Rachel. 谢谢大家。So, everyone, welcome. If you do not understand Chinese, can you put here? 如果你不懂英文，能不能 mark 一下 ？So we need to check to see if anyone do not understand English, do not understand Chinese, 或者是有人不懂英文的，这样的话我们看能不能 manage 一下。
You can ask them that if you understand English, type 1. If you don't, type 0 in chat room. Thank you, everyone. This will help us to, see mixed both language. Yes. So looks like I think the majority of people come tonight will understand. So let's go ahead with majority, mostly English. Cassie and Joe.
Okay. Thank you all. Thank you all. So Rachel, so today's partner company is Mighty.coach. Rachel, could you play the video so people understand what Mighty Coach is about? So many people in this hot job market get multiple offers, get anxiety. What we should do? If we have a coach, we'll immediately help you identify what's the right opportunity for you. If you have a tough boss to deal with, you don't know how to continue, you could have a coach to help you. If you have multiple packages, you don't know how to negotiate, you could have a coach help you. So you could have a personal board of directors help you to grow, to get rid of your stress, help you grow so fast. If you have a significant presentation to make and you don't know within 2 hours, how can you present to many hundreds of people within 1 hour of coaching time? You will be a rock star. So let's present Mighty.coach. Thank you.
Mighty coaches drive member success in achieving workplace goals. Mighty coaches are a diverse collection of experienced professionals, including credentialed coaches, notable industry executives, and experts at training, all at the fingertips of members. Each coach delivers unique expertise and value that contributes to members' career planning, skill growth, and specific workplace results. Members who don't know where to begin will work with expert coaches in career development and assessment to develop their own compelling career plans. Members who have a compelling career plan can work with coaches one-on-one to accelerate growth and fill gaps in skills through personal instruction, role play, and feedback. Members facing workplace challenges and opportunities will work with coaches as advisors to develop, role play, and refine effective approaches for optimum outcomes. Mighty coaches describe their domains of expertise and identify their preferred topics for coaching with their online profiles. Members use keywords or topic tags to find expert coaches and request sessions with online booking tools. Coaching and results are at their fingertips. Join Mighty and assemble your own personal board of directors that will contribute to your success and achievements.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. So now let's introduce our speaker, one of the mighty coaches, Joe. There are so many stories about you, don't know where to start. So well, I just remember you said, okay, you went to China 84, if I remember correctly.
Right, yeah, yeah.
As a very young
before
lecture professor. So the reason Joe went to China say, wow, why Mao could run such a huge country and be over so many other countries. So with that curiosity, he went to China. Another thing is, Joe is a world traveler. Before the pandemic, he started from Wuhan and traveled more than 10 countries during the pandemic. And he has been coaching so many students around the world. And you are also language culture expert. So welcome. And today you're going to share with us, what is charisma? Why do you need that? And from your global view as a Chinese, what we should be working on. Thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Kathy, for that warm introduction. And it's an honor and it's a privilege to be speaking to so many who are professional and are looking for new ideas. And I hope that anything I have tonight, any insight, any thing I have from my professional perspective can help you. So let's start tonight talking about a topic that's very dear to my heart, charisma. And I want to say first that it's a very interesting notion and people confuse it and think, oh, you're either born with it or you're not. And I'm here to tell you, we all have it. It just comes out in different ways. And we need to express it more in the workplace, I believe, if you want to enjoy things like promotion, great relationships, and a life at work that's joyful and pleasant. So without further ado, let me go to the screen and share with you some further ideas that I think and hope will be of help to you. That sums up everything I want to share with you tonight. I highly recommend it. But the question is, why? I'll tell you why. In my opinion, it is a fast track to you a successful career and opportunities, because embedded in charisma, behind it are a set of skills that if you master them, you can make your life a lot easier at work and everywhere else, I think. Now, we all know that climbing the ladder to success is challenging. And I feel that when you're charismatic, and let's start to open this box a little bit, it means really sharing more of you with the world. crossing this boundary that often we don't because it's work. And along those lines, it's about being recognized as a result for your expertise and for your contributions. So often at Google, I have seen this. I work with a lot of Chinese software engineers. I have worked as a coach to them, but also I work on a software development project as, as a lead developer. I write content for a language learning software for Google. It's kind of a startup. It's not launched yet, but we're testing. And what I have found is that so many of the engineers do great work and stellar. They work harder than I ever do because I work in a different way, but they're very timely and under budget, brilliant work. But many times they don't get recognized for what they did. In fact, you could even argue that somebody else on the team or the whole team got recognition for the work of one individual who really stood out. And I can see the frustration in the individuals. They're young and they're new in their career, so they really get frustrated, but don't say anything. And invariably, they leave teams and move to another one, looking for that thing that they wish someone would give them, which is recognition. But that's not the way it works. You know that, and I know that. So what I hope is that through, developing your charisma, you learn to not only express yourself and be visible, but be known for something, which is your humanity. Humanity, by that, I mean, it's a big word. By that, I mean, your individual self-expression, your values, and as they tie into the work you do. And the bottom line is, at the end of the day, to become vital. Work, in my opinion, is about, as you know, many of you would agree, that it's about the value you add, not the hours you keep, but in your contribution. What value do you add? Is it great enough for someone, some manager, to notice you and never want to lose you? So let me ask you a question, and maybe, Kathy can jump in here too, but who would you consider, let's try and put some shape to this word. Who would you consider as charismatic at your work? Now think about people in your workplace, and we have definitions of this term in our heads, and you say, that guy's charismatic. Now, if you have somebody in your head, think about what are those characteristics that they have that make them this thing called charismatic. So because I have Kathy right in front of me, maybe Kathy, you could jump in there, or maybe in the chat. Please drop it in the chat. Any thoughts? I think that'd be great. Kathy, if you can handle the chat a little bit. Anybody who has a thought in chat, drop it in there and say, okay, like I know somebody at work who's super charismatic, and a characteristic that you feel makes them. What's a skill or a characteristic they have? You don't have anything, that's fine. But I know Kathy.
But that might be easier, people put the public figures, whom you think is charismatic.
Sure. Yeah, I think of work but public figure. Yeah, how about a public figure?
Steve Jobs. Okay.
Okay, Steve Jobs. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, let's take a look at Steve Jobs. Well, our chat is lighting up there. Okay, we're starting to see some. Thank you, folks. You guys are great. A humorous
people who are
leader.
Positive, helping people, humorous leader, air of confidence. Zhou Enlai is,
Zhou Enlai, yes, he's one of my favorites. Zhou Enlai, yeah.
Inspiring leader.
Funny, positive. Yeah, someone with an outgoing personality and very confident in that. An altruistic leader, and they offer help without asking for it. Wow, so many qualities.
Ready. Okay, sorry, he lost. Yeah, he's really awesome.
Yeah, he's awesome too. Certainly
Roger Federer, my star.
All along the sports line. And so, yeah, they have character, charming character, charm, speaking ability. Barack Obama
of course.
So much of that. They have, Trump. And you have to admit, Trump is famous for his connecting with people. Cuomo certainly is a powerful presence. People love Leonardo DiCaprio in person as well. Reagan was a great speaker, approachable. So we're hitting a series of things that are repeating. Elon Musk has so many qualities of being an outspoken person, risks and challenges with other people without putting them down. And we will stop there on the chat. Look at that. It's still lighting up. I like this point about taking risks without putting others down. And Reagan, oh, I'm so impressed that you know the American president, not that you wouldn't, but that you would bring up people from a range of Trump to Reagan to Clinton and Obama, because that highlights my point tonight. These skills are universal, regardless of your political perspective and even values. Someone who is charismatic has this ability, and the flip side of this can be you can use charisma to any kind of end, negative or positive. It's a skill set. So let's thank you for sharing all of that. Let's take a look here at what would be some of the skills. Let's go right here. Some of the classic skills that we notice in charismatic personalities, typically, not personalities, but the charismatic persona that one can develop is the ability, and it's a nexus of stuff. That's what's so cool about this topic. It's being spontaneous, the ability to express yourself spontaneously. If you really break it down, these guys have not these guys, all of us have this ability in the moment, whether it's with our kids or friends or wherever, to come up with an idea that's quite spontaneous in the moment, not reflected. But charisma is the ability, is your ability to hone that and really develop it. Reading others' emotions, this is key to what I'm going to address later as synchrony. It's your ability to sync up with other people, not if they're down, you don't overwhelm them. If they're up, then you try and reach them a little bit. But we'll get into the dangers of that or the issues with that. But they have in that particular point. But moving along, emotional self-control. This is really important. They don't lose it. And like it was just mentioned in the chat, it's respectful and taking into account other people's opinion. Even if they're provoked, they hold it. Entertaining conversationalists. These are, this is your ability to speak in a way that's light and can engage. Interpreting social situations as well. Some require certain behaviors and ways of talking, others different. It's being tuned into the outside as well as the inside. And of course, being poised and graceful as a quality. I like to think of what I call the natural attractive skill or force. And this is found in nature among certain animals and birds, but it's been researched a lot that the word rapport has to do with your ability to really understand someone and connect with them. And it is physical as well as verbal, such that if you, and I've done this, if you go to a coffee shop tomorrow and you sit across from someone or a group of people, and I'm not kidding, I'm sure you've done this, happened to you, but you start tapping your foot to the music and you'll be surprised how suddenly some other folks start tapping their foot. Or if you start repeating a behavior, or if you suddenly look over here, that's more obvious, but others will follow. And it's been researched as part of our human instinct we call mirroring. And you can take it to another level such that if you visit a friend and you immediately see that your friend is down, sometimes you might want to pump them up by being so friendly and nice. But in fact, what may be required of the situation is to meet them where they are, which is at a calmer state. We all know this. But conversely, it's harder sometimes when the energy is up to get up to that energy when we're not there, say at a meeting or at a social event. So what this is about is having rapport is your ability to repeatedly, if not regularly, get out of your box and try to meet other folks where they are. Now, again, you can see the pitfalls here because at some point you might say, hey, that's fine, but that's not me. I'm not a monkey. I don't want to be a copycat. I mean, that's why I have this picture of a minor bird here. And this minor bird reminds me of a bird I had as a kid. My bird's name was Sam, and Sam was really smart. Now, if you know minor birds, they're one of the few birds that can copy the human voice because of their vocal cords are a little bit bigger than other birds. And so they sound very human. And Sam was right near our telephone when I was growing up as a kid. And whenever you call on the phone or whenever he'd hear anything go on that phone, he'd repeat it. So you had to be careful what you said near Sam at that phone, because someone would call back in the days, when you had to pick up phone, and someone would say, hello. And as soon as Sam heard some of those cues, he'd start talking. Hey, Joe's not here. Or hello, all kinds of funny things. So the reason I say this is because Sam was really, really good at repeating, mimicking, reinventing the experience of sound. Now, he did that without emotion, and he's not human, and he couldn't put inflection like we will. We'll learn about that tonight. But that's kind of an example of how it works in nature. Now, what we find very often, back to that topic of I was alluding to, we'll find people with influence. They have this ability to influence others and situations, and do that with emotional impact. This is what Reagan was famous for. This is what Clinton was famous for, and make deep connections with people. And interestingly enough, they're not always the boss. They're not always the top leader. They can be sitting right next to you, your team leads, individuals who haven't fully expressed, or by moment really show up like this, and you're always impressed by that. It's a skill that we turn off and on depending on what your goals are. In a nutshell, we could say that you forget yourself in the palm of their hand. When charisma is flowing, you just sort of let go and trust them. Now, let me tell you a couple stories, my own stories. I have two. And these kind of tie into the ideas I have around why speaking and using artful communication to get to charisma is so important. I, as Kathy mentioned, lived in China, and I remember back in those days, everybody was smoking. I don't know about now, but smoking a lot. And Choyar. And I remember, and I started smoking too for a while there. I took it up because everybody was smoking. But here's how it started. Someone would offer me a cigarette, and I'd say no. And then they'd offer it to me again very quickly. And I'd still say no. Now, that second no, I was kind of getting a little annoyed because, here, no is kind of like no. And then a third time, a very strange thing happened. They would take that cigarette, it was very smooth and elegant. They would take that cigarette out of the packet, put it between my fingers, get it into my mouth, light it up, and we'd be smoking as friends. Sort of 中美友谊, Chinese-American friendship. I don't know what was going on, but anyway, I didn't, okay, I'll tell you what happened later. Later, someone would ask me for a cigarette, and I would respond as an American. And they kind of, I guess, were responding as a Chinese because they would say, no. And then I'd say, okay. And I put it back and walk away. And I don't know, a little bubble over their head was maybe saying, this guy's kind of rude. And a little bubble over my head was saying, well, that makes sense. So I started to see these disconnects, and that's just one small example. But I thought, well, I'm going to try and be a little bit more like the Chinese. It seems like, no is yes and yes is no. I don't know. But anyway, so there was a Lao Wang. Lao Wang was a colleague of mine, and he loved coming to my hotel at the Jinjiang Fangdian. I lived there for that 1 year. And he would show up at 3 p.m, get through the guards. They all knew him. Stay very precisely for 1/2 an hour. He would arrive, and I decided one day to offer him tea. I hadn't, but I had bought this really nice, I thought expensive Liu Cha green tea. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to be kind of like Chinese, and so I know what's going to happen. So I thought, okay, I offered him. I said, Lao Wang, ni he ma, ni he cha ma? Would you like some tea? And he said, no, thank you. So I put on my Chinese thinking cap, and I thought, that no is really a yes. So I said, no, come on, Lao Wang, you got to have some tea. It's really good green tea here locally from Shanghai. And he said, no, it's okay. So I did the next level. I ramped it up, and I just went and started heating water, and I made some really nice tea, set it down in front of him, and he would kind of struggle. He said, no, and then he said, thank you. And I covered it with a little lid. we were done. We talked exactly half an hour. He gets up and he leaves. Then I went to clean up. And I lifted up that little cup of tea, and it was really heavy. And I looked at the lid, and he didn't drink anything. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, that's my expensive green tea. My American hat kicked back. That's my, expensive. It's not expensive. That's my green tea. And we just wasted all that tea. And da-da-da. So I'm thinking, wow, this is weird. Anyway, fast forward years later to Google, working at Google. And I go on to work with an IT team. They're all engineers, 25 engineers around the world. And my first day, I have to give a talk, a Wednesday morning talk at a big meeting with all the engineers. They're all AI guys. And I'm talking about the content of this thing that they want me to develop on the content side. And so I had this thing. And then afterwards, it was like dead silence. And nobody commented. And then this started to go on like week to week. And then what I realized one day was that I was using the wrong way of communicating and even vocabulary that wasn't connecting well. So one day I get up there and I say, well, you know what? Everything you guys are talking about is orthogonal to what we really need to do. And they all looked up, and then the chat went on fire. They said, you're right, Joe, it's totally orthogonal. I couldn't agree more. And that word orthogonal, it took me months to really figure it out. And it's not complicated. It just means tangential, okay? But I hadn't put on my tech language cultural thing yet, because all these software engineers are, and maybe many of them you are, so I don't mean, my observation was that it was a different world, a different way of communicating. Things were much more concise and communicate. But the feedback I got from them later was, Joe, this is great. You really understand this. And what I realized that I was using vocabulary jargon that they didn't understand. So once I converted to their language or their way of thinking, their way of presenting, things were a lot easier, and figured out their mode of charisma. So the moral of these stories for me was, you got to adapt. We all know that. But first, you got to know yourself. You got to spend time understanding, where can I compromise? Do I really want to be that reserved? When? And how do I do that? In my case, or do I want to be the super outgoing person and charismatically, in that extreme sense of ebullient and open? When does that happen? Because I'm me. Now, how far am I going to push myself? And for what reason? Well, I'm here to tell you, if you're going up that ladder, sooner or later, people are will want to know who you are, what you're about. And if you can communicate it with style, it's beautiful. Because then there's that connect, that rapport, that animal rapport. By the way, I didn't finish the thought there, which is when we have rapport, suddenly they want to be with you, because people want to be with people who are like them. That's been written about in psychology. People love being with people who are like them. It's human nature. So if you get in that door with rapport and you understand them and you can show up with some of their stuff, whether at Google or in China, you have different access, and it's worth the experiment. But again, knowing yourself means not compromising your integrity. There are places you don't want to go, things you don't want to do or be. And then it's being yourself within that understanding, with that understanding. Finally, I learned that our ability to richly communicate opens doors to opportunity. Communication is everything, but communication, please know, everyone calls it the soft skill. No such thing. It's really hard. So my suggestion is to tap your charisma, learn to speak with flow, build relationships, and have executive presence. Now, if you unpack each one of these, it's not exactly what each one of these appears to be either. You mentioned him. Here's Mr. Flow himself. This guy, both Kathy and I, well, Kathy has met him several times, but I can speak to the time I saw him speak in front of a large audience. The thing that impressed me about him was that he made, I felt, it seemed, we're all in the front row. It's a big crowd, but I would happen to be in the front row. But he made all of us feel, we compared notes, like we were the only ones he was talking to. It was weird. I mean, this is the president of the United States with all these strangers. And what he was doing was he was persuading us with that style of charismatic communication, persuading us to follow him in his policy. He was launching a new educational policy, and it was brilliant. And like, I was like, okay, I'm on board, no problem. It was so easy to agree with this man. But here's one of the things that he did, Reagan did, and so many have, Obama, they mastered the English language. And so we say that the unique thing about English, very different from Chinese and Vietnamese, but especially Chinese, is that English builds on time and stress. And when you put those two together, magically, you get this flow of language, almost melodic, up and down. And from there, English speakers extract meaning. This is different from Chinese. Chinese is much more staccato, syllable by syllable, as you know, one Chinese character, one syllable. So look at this sentence. I never said she stole my money. I can say that. How many think I can say that 7 different ways? Kathy, you should at least say, just say yes. Just say yes. Joe, you can do it. I'm going to do it for you, okay? So I'm going to say this sentence 7 different ways. I never said she stole my money. 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 Stole my car. I never said she stole my money. She stole my house. English has this remarkable capacity for inflection and intonation and stress, ultimately flow, that just invites charismatic expression. You just play with this all day long and have fun. This guy, whom I love, he's a master of having not only executive presence, well, that is to say, his executive presence is he gets up there and he commands English. It's not his first language. His grammar is not perfect. He doesn't always know the quote native expressions or any of that. And yes, he's got an accent. Oh, God forbid. His accent is perfect and beautiful, like yours, mine, everyone's. I come from California. When I go to New York, they tell me I have an accent. What he does, though, that's different, is he gets up there and he lets it flow because he knows the rhythm of English very well. So I don't get distracted when you're not working within rhythm and stress. To finish that thought, getting flow, it can distract the listener. And I work hard on that. I have a whole course on that. And it's a lot of fun because you can see your progress from day one. It's just normal. From Chinese, you transpose that staccato-ness. It's normal. And when you explore this more, pretty soon, I'm not saying you talk like Ronald Reagan, but you can talk like Jack Ma or I don't know, anybody that you can emulate. So you have to follow someone and practice with them. Now, Jack Ma also embodies executive presence. What is that? It's this ability, uncanny ability, to understand others first and connect with them. It's that empathic ability. To be empathic, you have to choose to do that. Executive presence, like charisma, is something that you learn and you choose. Yes, the Reagans and Clintons were born with a lot of this. That's a different category. But I'm saying most of us, it's a matter of learning. So executive presence is a great example where you use your emotional intelligence, EQ, to really control yourself and listen first and repeat back and do all those great EQ skills that you do so that you become a public speaker with empathy. You read your audience. You know, Martin Luther King was I think he was mentioned in the chat, was giving his speech, I Had a Dream speech. And actually what happened was he gave the first part of his speech and he was done. He hadn't even got to the I had a dream part. He was done. He was ready to go home. But he looked out to that mall and all those people, and he saw one thing. They wanted more. So he just stopped and he let it all in, and it came out. And that incredible phrase was in the moment. He may have crafted it somewhere else, but then he said, I have a dream. And then he just went into that flow of prosodic storytelling and brought them all in, like Clinton did for me that day. So this is paying attention to your audience, to your environment, coming out from you to it. And but conversely, it's this quiet confidence that we all know great presence is about. And it's the having conviction and integrity that ultimately grounds us. It's our values and our beliefs. Who are we? The more we know that, the more we know what to do. The last thing I want to say, and I really enjoy helping people develop signature style, but it's I think that's the thing about Jack Ma and all these people we mentioned. They have a certain signature style. There is a famous guitarist. His name is Carlos Santana, and he plays a Latin guitar. And he talks about this in his masterclass. He goes, I work very hard to develop my signature style. And in 5 notes, I play 5 notes, and most people know exactly who I am. I've had it happen everywhere. And nobody plays with my notes. Nobody dares copy them unless they say they're copying, and nobody knows they're copying. But he's got a signature. So it's fun to develop our own, and that's what Jack Ma has, certainly. And then another thing we work on carefully, if charisma is tied into your ability to have relationships with people that you don't necessarily know. Now think about that. We always think about our relationships with people that we want to be with, right? Family, friends, close to us. But there are so many opportunities to reach outside and meet other people. And that is where all kinds of opportunity lies. But it's untapped. But we're not going to do that if we're closed inside. So the more your energy or charismatic sense is out and full, and that attracts in other people who want to know you. Charismatic people got us in the palm of their hand. Can you do that? Sure. Sure you can. So getting out of your box is really important. You got to be proactive behind the scenes. And when I was at Google, this was so important. I met with my manager, but not just formally. I would text him suddenly and say, do you need any help with something? I was always building a relationship with him and others. And I'm sure you do the same thing. But widening your circles is about going out beyond your world. When I lived in France, I was working on a farm for the experience. And then I was working at a university. And then I was a student. And then I was working professionally. And each one of those places, I worked with different people. And they all spoke a different kind of French. We call it different register. Some more formal, some more professional, some more like a worker. And I found my ability to speak French and converse and cross lines and build was phenomenal because I'd taken that risk of getting out of the box. It was uncomfortable, but I did it. So be open to different types of people. And in the communication, of course, we try to be persistent in getting to people that, if we want to talk to them, and they can be anyone, famous. I don't know. You don't over persist because that's annoying. But the idea is that you seek out, you're proactive in your relationships, and then you reveal who you are with fervor or with confidence. So my point is always be seen, be speak up. By the way, one interesting anecdote here. Okay, a lot of the Google engineers, I work with about 50 as coach, and I have the team that I work on. And I will notice something. They all use WeChat like we do. And they have different circles of friends, groups on WeChat. And one of them is a university graduate group. So one is even like friends from back in China that they went to school with. Another one is local engineers, folks they went to college with here, but all these groups. And then locally, I've started to notice these patterns. I started to notice that they were all texting each other about the same restaurants, the same clay pot food or spicy Hunan restaurant over here. They were talking about going on the same ski trips or to Hawaii. They were picking cherries in the same little patch north of here. And I go to different meetings and they're all going to different times with different groups. And it was as if there was like one god of information sharing it to these guys and they all were tapping it, but it was like in a box. And so part of my work with them was I would ask them, how many American friends do you have? How many Chinese do you spend time with? Do you ever go to other restaurants besides Chinese restaurants? Yeah, they do, but not really. I don't know, but my hunch is that it's that kind of thing that if you're there, which is safe and secure and appropriate, I understand it. But what's going on outside that box? It's a thought, because it's over there. In anthropology, we study the lost wallet under the lamp phenomenon. Oh, my light went out. The lost lamp, which that was fortuitous because my lamp just dropped. But the lost lamp story is fantastic to anthropologists. We all know it. We learn it in school. Basically, if you can't find, you're under a lamp at night, okay, and you lose your wallet. Now, the natural thing to do is look under the light for the wallet. But in fact, the wallet fell just beyond where the light goes. If you don't look over there, you never find your wallet, not at night at least. So the idea is to, kind of, take your lamp off and shed the light all around, right? It's common sense, but it's often overlooked. So expand the circle. So be seen by speaking up, be known, speak out, earn trust, be recognized, let people know, oh, there it goes again. Let people know who you are so they can evaluate according to their values and stuff, but they want to respect you. We all want to respect you, but we don't know you. If you don't kind of use that charismatic energy to come out, we can't see you. Once we see you, we're on board because you're smart. And be remembered. So that means speak with a lot of people and speak with confidence. Be proactive, be courageous, be you. I can't emphasize this part of just being yourself. Ultimately, after you think through the things I've been suggesting. Charisma, we've all got it. Express yours, please. I hope so. And I hope I can help you in some other way. Upcoming, in fact, I was talking to Kathy about this. If I may, Kathy, can I jump in here or should I say this now? Or I don't know.
You can.
The slide is right here at the very end.
Yes.
Basically, this one program is going to be launched here, I think, very soon. It's called Great Practice and Mindset for Becoming Charismatic. It's kind of like the deep dive into what we were talking about, but much more, really focusing on three things, practicing three things. One is impromptu, on your feet conversation techniques, telling compelling stories, and developing a signature style. So my idea is that you walk away from this having experienced impromptu work, but also walking away with a story that you can use, take and carry with you with anything for yourself in the future, applying that to some context. And also, I want to see and develop folks' style a little bit in the sense that there's a way to bring more of you out so that we can enjoy the polished version of you that says, I'm here, enjoy what I have to say. So that's pretty much all from my corner, Kathy. And I've talked a lot.
Yes, thank you very much. Be charismatic is a huge topic, right? Because some people think, oh, is that the magic?
Yeah.
It's not a necessary magic, but it has a magical feeling. And also for people who have a charisma, some people think they do, some people say they don't think they do. Depends if you connect with you, right? So,
Right.
So by this topic is huge. Joe is going to conduct this class, but we're going to launch two. One is for first generation. So we'll have English. We also have Chinese implications. One, we're going to launch to the second generation. A lot of people asking for second generation don't have career classes, don't have EQ classes, don't have, how to be assertive classes. So I think we're going to launch 2 on a different day. So
Yeah.
WizWise will send out the notice to the target. And